At 10, Grim Chica. The first Springlock victim in the Final Night series, Grim Chica is a primary antagonist in Final Nights 3 Nightmares Awoken. Unlike the others, she is not a Reaper animatronic. Grim Chica holds a strong appearance to the Springlock suit on the poster for the Night 3 cutscene, but her faceplates are very hard to spot. And she's also almost entirely purple. The glowing accents inside of her resemble a human corpse. She lacks a bib unlike the original Chica. Her overall body is very slim like the original toy Chica, except for her hips, which appear to be much wider for birthing purposes. And she lacks shoulders or upper arms, with her forearms protruding from her armpits. Grim Chica is also revealed to be a Springlock victim in the museum levels, saying, quote, "A victim of a Springlock failure, forever forced to haunt the suit she was wearing. Now being manipulated by your sister and mother. Tried spray on tan, still very pale." I relate to that. No matter what I do, I'll always be pale and pasty, okay? But I'm fine with that. However, while she is also a Springlock victim, she's in the suit that she was wearing, therefore she is a Springlock animatronic. Alright, so I'm like, come on. I mean, I'll also be like, what did you do to my girl Chica? Like, I'm sorry, Mommy Kentucky. I didn't mean to. These are transgressions. Keep my wife's name. And at 9, Motorcycle Ballora. This is on the list because it's weird, okay? Look, it's not scary, but it is definitely weirder than a lot of things that we've seen here. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it probably should have been higher. Someone turned Ballora into a motorcycle, though, and I don't know why. Look, I'm all for whatever you're into, okay? No judgment zone here, as long as it's legal and doesn't put anyone in danger. But this obsession with riding Ballora, okay, at this point, it's too much. It puts my mental stability in danger, and honestly, that's already dancing on the fence, so even like the slightest push will send me spiraling towards even more FNAF madness. Like, why? Why did you do this? What compelled you to make this character? And what the hell is her back wheel made of? And at 8, Steampunk Freddy. No doubt inspired by the steampunk event for FNAF AR, Steampunk Freddy is one of the tamer variants on this list. And while changing the character to be steel and gold may do the trick, the different interpretations are what make this version weird enough for this list. Particularly the Steampunk Titan Funtime Freddy created by Hero Golem on DeviantArt. This thing looks like a beast and would honestly make me throw my pants at it. I don't know, okay, look, they're more so weird rather than scary, however, making their original appearance in the fan alternates of Funtime Freddy list, even if they aren't gold and are instead purple. I have no doubt that this thing would still crush me in a dark alley. I'm too scared to say this thing that isn't steampunk because there's no copper. It doesn't look steampunk, but it also is steampunk, okay? If I say that he's not steampunk, as soon as I step off screen, he's gonna snap my neck. And this is only number 8. This is already weird, okay? Just wait until you see the others. This is gonna be a wild list, so stick around. Speaking of sticking around, why don't you do us both a favor and hit that like button and subscribe? It really helps us out and helps the channel grow. And it's 6, Endo Baby. No, okay? That's all I'm gonna say about this thing. While Baby may not be the scariest animatronic, at least they aren't whatever the Rocky Horror Picture Show bullshit this is. Removing the animatronic casing from Baby just makes the character bone-chilling. And not even in like a scary way, like in a really uncomfortable way. Why does it need so much interior if it's an animatronic? Just make a normal endoskeleton with a containment chamber and like a grabby arm thing. You don't need all these extra embellishments and cords. I get that they have to fit the technology in there, but this is a universe with discs that can change what you see based on sound. They made the technological reality stone, but can't make her inflate balloons using a normal endoskeleton? Actually, now that I think about it, that might actually just be worse. Still, why the hell would you do this in any capacity, okay? Just leave her casing on. Undress it with your eyes like normal people do. Normal. Halfway through at number 5, Havoc Puppet. Havoc Puppet is responsible for the creation of every animatronic in Dormitabis, a FNAF 3 fan game, with the exception of 1. Havoc Puppet is formed by a cracked and distorted version of the puppet's original mask, which is missing its lower half. And the head has a small hole above the place its mouth would be, and then 2 white pinprick pupils inside empty sockets with presumably pitch black everything else. The lower missing half of the main mask actually features 7 black tentacle-like extensions, 3 at the back and 4 at the front. The side 2 are used as legs, while the other 2 front ones are presumably like arms, and then the back 3 tentacles seem to be like tails. I don't get it. She also has a crack on the top of her head, okay? This thing is wrong. It looks like a giant messed up spider, and we know how I feel about spiders. I hate them, but this is still weird as hell, even for a puppet. And at 4, Fusion Baby. While I applaud the creativity here, these fusions of Baby with other Funtime animatronics are just frickin' weird. Whether it be putting Funtime Foxy's color scheme and ears on Baby, or just plopping Funtime Funtime Freddy's head on her body. The horror that is the fusion concept shakes me to my core, and honestly, even thinking about it, I want to stop recording this video. It's one of those things where like I hate it and it irks me in the worst way, but I still can't look away. Like when you want to watch something that you hate to see if you can handle it and you can't. Like that's me with these fusions. It's like a video of a spider, okay? I'm intrigued, but also I'm disgusted, so I'm avoiding it. Like, what the hell? Why do these work so well? Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Reaper Spring Bonnie. Reaper Spring Bonnie, however, is the opposite of Shadow Spring Bonnie. This Reaper variant appears in Final Nights 3 and 4 and is an absolute monstrosity, but is definitely more terrifying in Final Nights 4, okay? He is 100% the scariest animatronic in those games. In essence, Reaper Spring Bonnie is a nightmare spring trap. He has sharp teeth and a very damaged and withered body. His suit is a dark yellow in color. He sports a big purple bow tie on his upper chest, kind of like Glitch Trap does, which is ironic given that this released first, I'm pretty sure. And like other Reaper animatronics, Reaper Spring Bonnie has a pair of hollow dark eyes, kind of like my ex. In Final Nights 4, however, his appearance is much more disfigured and gruesome, with sharper teeth, sharper claws, a different jaw, growths resembling kind of shoulder pads made of fungi, and a gooier appearance overall. He's also missing half of his right ear, kind of like Springtrap. I mean, like, that's kind of like a given at this point. Like, if you're missing half your ear, it's a reference to Springtrap. But oh my god, okay, this thing is more terrifying than Springtrap. Like, this is what Springtrap should have been. Or honestly, what I think a Nightmare Springtrap would look like I said. This is like a prototype burn trap in my eyes, or like a melt trap, which is probably gonna be the next iteration of Afton. Proto Trap, though, that's a good one. And ultimately, in at number 2, you! Spoiler alert for a fan game, but if I say which fan game, I'm going to spoil it. So if you want to avoid spoilers, click array right now. You can probably just skip to the next number using the timestamps, okay? Alright. I'll give you a chance to do that, and okay, that's your chance. That's it. You're done. Okay. A Shadow Over Freddy's is a FNAF fan game created by Fiznom on Game Jolt. It was released on the 25th of April 2018, and since it was made by the same guy who's currently working on FNAF Plus for the Fazbear fanverse, you know it's bound to be good. The gameplay of Ace Off is a hybrid between the traditional point-and-click game and a free-roaming horror game. The player wakes up to find themselves with no memories in a black and white abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and is tasked with surviving 5 nights and escaping the restaurant. The player is given a different task each night that they must complete before 6 a.m. and without being attacked by any roaming animatronics, obviously. However, the ending to the game has you getting trapped in a springlock suit and being left to rot, meaning that you are a springlock animatronic, which is probably one of the scariest things of all, because I don't know you, but like I'd rather not get spring locked. It's also revealed that you then play as Afton, so it's kind of a fan character, kind of not, but like it's a fan way of having it happen. All right, good enough for me. And finally, in at number 1, Fred Trap. To be honest, I searched this up just for the hell of it because like originally we thought that Afton was using the Golden Freddy suit to kill people, but there are actually Fredbear versions of Springtrap. Fredbear is exactly what you'd expect. Springtrap's look on a yellow Freddy animatronic. The designs are actually really well made and honestly scarier than normal Springtrap for me, and like I don't know why. I guess like for some reason when I just think bears are scarier than bunnies. I wonder why. I think that Scott made William use the Spring Bonnie suit because of how scared Scott was of Bonnie, but that's just idle speculation. That's like my kind of headcanon. There are also even more rundown versions and even scrap versions of Fred Trap, which are already haunting when you don't think about the fact that it would still be William inside the suit being kept alive by the spirit of his dead son. Fred Trap is definitely one of the most strangely horrifying versions of Fredbear or any Springlock animatronic that I've seen. And that's pretty damn impressive. And at 10, Reaper Balloon Boy. Reaper Balloon Boy was introduced in Final Nights 3 Nightmares Awoken before being brought back in Final Nights 4 Fates Entwined. However, his Final Nights 4 appearance is much worse, so we'll be focusing on that one for this number. Reaper Balloon Boy's body appears to be immense for a small animatronic. He has long extending arms with blue and red striped sleeves and has protruding fingers at the ends of his hands. I mean, like, of course they're protruding, but like it's weird. He also has many red scratches all over his body, possibly resembling human cuts. In Final Nights 4, however, his appearance becomes more disfigured and rough, with his face and fingers being stretched out even more and sporting multiple sharp-looking blades on his propeller cap. Reaper Balloon Boy appears in Investigation 4 in Final Nights 4, and he, along with the other Reaper animatronics, try to attack Max Donovan in the hospital bedroom. If the player hears him laugh, they must go up and shine a light on him with the flashlight to repel him. The weirdest thing about this animatronic, though, is that his museum description reads, quote, "not related to Danny DeVito." And at 9, Grim Fredbear. Grim Fredbear is one of the antagonists of Final Nights 3 Nightmares Awoken. He is only active on Night 5 and is found in the left hallway. Grim Fredbear resembles the normal golden Fredbear, only with his suit glowing a deep purple color while the interior of the suit glows a bright white. His upper face appears to be torn off, including his eyes, leaving an empty, hollow, gaping hole in its place. That sounded weird. The inside of the mask, though it appears like there is nothing inside, actually conceals a white, pale human head that can only be seen during his jump scare. And before you ask, yes, it's mine. This animatronic is clearly meant to be a reference to Shadow Freddy and the theory that these Shadow animatronics were Springlock victims, which is later confirmed by Scott to be false when stating that only William was a victim of a Springlock failure. But in the museum level of this game, which unlocks after Night 5, it is also revealed that Grim Fredbear is a Springlock suit, saying, quote, "another Springlock failure victim, the second generation of Fredbear." And at 7, Am I Real? Am I Real, also known as Cake Bear, is presumably the primary and most recurring antagonist in Dormitabis. Am I Real has two different forms. His first form is Cake Bear. Cake Bear's design originated from the Save Him minigame, where he delivered cake to children while a child is killed outside. He is also the predecessor to both Fredbear and Freddy Fazbear. Cake Bear is a brown bear animatronic that also acts as a Springlock suit that appears in most of the main nights. Although they look slightly similar, the only similarities that he has to Freddy Fazbear is that they're both bears, and they wear a top hat, are brown, and have blue eyes. That's about it. Am I Real's second form is Am I Real, and is a form that resembles Springtrap. This form has a green color much like Springtrap and contains human remains, because of course it does. His right eye socket has gotten bigger on the side and a big hole can be seen on the right side of his head. His top hat has received some withering on it as well, and his lower jaw is slanted and worn down. No longer circular like Cake Bear's. He has a sizable hole in the right side of his torso, revealing organs inside. Rips and tears also cover his arms, revealing even more human remains. He appears to be missing at least one finger on his right hand and is absolutely terrifying to look at. Of course, a decent amount of these are going to be from Dormitabis, because like, have you seen the Dormitabis animatronics? They're just horrifying. Coming in at 4, Shadow Spring Bonnie. Shadow Spring Bonnie is one of the two primary antagonists of Final Nights 2. He is also one of the final animatronics in that game. Shadow Spring Bonnie resembles Springtrap, as to be expected when mentioning Springlock suits, and similar to Springtrap, he lacks the suit on his feet and has the majority of his right ear missing. But overall, he has rips, but is not really missing any limbs or parts at all, which is a stark contrast to the burnt animatronics from the first 4 nights of Final Nights 2. His face glows white, which is notable when he is in the hallway, but also gives him a more sinister appearance, and pushes the something supernatural idea that most of these animatronics have, well, the shadow ones at least. Like Shadow Bonnie from FNAF AR, okay? It's something like the Winchesters are gonna have to hunt. Well, Winchester. Shadow Spring Bonnie takes on the role of Burnt Freddy and Burnt Foxy on Night 5. He is very fast, so the player must seal the vent quickly, otherwise they'll get jump scared, and he can also appear in the hallway. Never use the flashlight though, or you will get insta-gibbed. Also, if he appears in the hallway, inspect his face, okay? If he's twitching, close the door, then a rattling sound will let you know when he's left, but if he's not twitching, don't. Okay, the fact that you need to look at his face to actually like kind of focus on it just makes him worse, okay? I don't like looking at faces, okay? I'm an antisocial person. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Buff Ennard. Okay, I looked this up as a joke because Buff Helpy, and it turned out to be a thing, and that makes me upset. This can either be Ennard with just more endoskeleton stuff, like wires, tubes, tentacles, I don't know what to call it, but like that metallic stuff on his insides that makes him look more muscular, or it could just be adding more shell onto him and then giving him a speed up. That's the more popular one, unfortunately. And then there's the version that gives him a skin tone, and that's just messed up. Why is this a thing? Why did someone subject me to this? Because now you all have to see it. It's just, I don't know what else to say. It's nightmare fuel. It's at least as much nightmare fuel as Buff Helpy, okay, and you know that. I prefer Buff Helpy to this. At least Helpy is nice and he doesn't want to kill you and then shove himself inside you. That sounds weird, but you know what, I'm rolling with it. Helpy just wants to jump in balls. In a ball pit, okay? Buff Ennard just makes me feel uncomfortable. It's like that one time I went to the gym all over again. And yes, I went to a gym once. Thank you. Penultimately, in at number 2, Diner Ennard. Michael Afton, the boy who lived, come to die. I'm not even making a joke. This just looks like if Ennard were Voldemort and watched one too many like makeup tutorials on YouTube. And like when you see it, you'll absolutely agree. This is like the beauty YouTuber of animatronics. If James Charles, Jeffree Star, Tati Westbrook, and Nikki Tutorials had a love child and then killed it with extreme agony so that it could then possess an animatronic and then give itself a makeover, that's what this is. With all their combined genetics and lack of eyebrows, this could actually happen. This is the face of my nightmares. This is the one who was truly behind Dramageddon. And if none of you understand that, this number is truly lost. But you know what? I guarantee 1000% that what I'm saying is perfectly accurate, even if you don't understand it. I had multiple sources. The 2 women who sit next to me verified this. I am right on this. And finally, in at number 1, Breadbear. Oh boy. Breadbear is an animatronic coming from the Day Shift at Freddy's series, who was created by Dave by modifying a Fredbear suit. The character appears in Day Shift at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3. Breadbear's appearance is oddly similar to Fredbear, albeit wider. He is a golden colored bear animatronic wearing a purple top hat and bow tie, 2 black and white buttons on his chest, and his gray metallic eyes. Thicker arms and legs, a squarish brown nose, small brown pupils, small white teeth, round ears with the insides colored lighter shades as you know they typically would be, and a very circular shaped stomach with like brownish shades. He's also ripped around his feet and like joints and I don't know. Breadbear also appears for real when Dave modifies an empty Fredbear suit and then unleashes it during the Sting operation on Friday, in which, depending on which route you take, it either attempts to kill Jack, it dies, or destroys the pizzeria and then sets itself on fire. Because of course it does, we love that. No FNAF game is complete without a fire at the end, right? And it's at Garvey, a psychopathic, cold-blooded killer. He stopped being human long ago. That's how Garvey is described in the extras of Dormitabis, the game from which he hails. Garvey is the penultimate antagonist to Dormitabis, and as a human, he was a man who murdered the missing children, and later went on to get trapped in Spring Bonnie, becoming Springtrap, and was burnt to a permanent death in the Fazbear Frights fire. If only the real Afton could have taken that same route. Garvey is a more gory version of Springtrap from FNAF 3, however, it is not William Afton, as this game was released before that name reveal, even before FNAF 4. Springtrap, but with hardly any exosuit or animatronic casing, whatever you want to call it. Garvey crawls on all fours and uses his left hand as a foot and his left foot as a hand, like some form of demon monkey from hell that Satan didn't sanction the creation of. Just look at this thing and tell me that it shouldn't be on this list, okay? If you do, you'll actually be lying, and that will make Garvey just want you more. That's a face that not even furries could simp for. Come on. And at 9, Scrap Nightmare Bonnie. What's that? 2 Bonnie animatronics in a row on a list not about Bonnie? Yes! But mostly because I was scrolling through Google Images and these 2 caught my eye first. Scrap Nightmare Bonnie is scary for all the reasons I listed above, and then you just add Nightmare to it. Although I guess that doesn't really make for a compelling number, and I should talk about it more. The concept of the Nightmare animatronics is certainly freaky, but the fact that they aren't real kind of like soothes me, you know? Like, sure, none of these animatronics are real, but even in their universe, the Nightmare animatronics aren't real and can't really hurt you. But with the implication of the scrapped nature of this version, it seems to suggest against that idea, and I think that makes it freakier. But also the potential that the arm at the end of that one Security Breach trailer that was never referenced again, by the way, Steel Wool, looks like Nightmare Freddy's arm, and it only adds to the idea that they're not going to be fake for very long. Like, they're going to be real animatronics very soon, and I don't like that. If that ends up being the thing, if they make the Nightmare animatronics actual animatronics in Security Breach, this channel is done with FNAF. Straight up. And it ain't Scrap Baby Endo. Scrap Baby is already the freakiest of all the Scrap animatronics, or at least the canon Scrap animatronics, but never did I think about what her endoskeleton would look like, because let's be honest, that's kind of freaky. I mean, her name is literally Baby. I don't want to talk about her endoskeleton, that'll put me on like some kind of watch list. However, this goddamn Scrap Baby Endo concept is horrifying. Why does it have boobs? It's an endoskeleton! You don't actually have to give it boobs! Why did baby even reassemble herself? In that way is my question. Is it because she like needs to be able to pass as a human like she does in the Fourth Closet novel? Like seriously, this has been something that has always bugged me because like why? Why did Scrap Baby reassemble themselves with a chest? And then like why are people including this as a part of her endoskeleton? This hurts me on like a deep level. I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's move on. And at 7, Scrap Glitch Trap. You can fight me all you want about my opinions on Springtrap and the fact that he's not an animatronic because he's just a dude in the suit. But there's no way you can fight me on the fact that Glitch Trap isn't an animatronic. Firstly, he's just game code with no real world equivalent aside from William Afton. Secondly, he's literally just a suit. You can tell by the fabric. The different design to the body we know and the stitching around his joints and, you know, it's a suit. But this version of Glitch Trap, known as Scrap Glitch Trap, is designed to be an animatronic, therefore it counts for this list. This thing is fucking horrifying. I've always had a soft spot for Glitch Trap, okay? I hate this thing because, like, you know, it gives me creepy bear vibes, if you know what I mean. You know, if you look at old memes, you'll know. It's an old meme, but it checks out. It's a specific bear that may have candy in his white windowless van. Anyway, I hate this kind of thing. And the way that Glitch Trap just like stands there and waves and then slowly gets closer to you, who's playing a child in the game, doesn't sit right with me. Hence why I avoid picking up tapes, because I don't like him. Now, with all that said, this version is still worse. The actual Scrap appearance, along with like the desaturation of the costume and the exposed endoskeleton and all the wires, it's too much for me. I can't do it. I'm done. And at 6, Scrap Puppet. I don't know why, but like every version of the puppet intended to be scary gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like the Reaper puppet, which I talk about in multiple FNAF videos, and is honestly the epitome of horrifying for me, is the Reaper puppet. And then there's like the Havoc puppet of the Dormitabis series, and now we have Scrap Puppet. This was only a concept and fan art, but it doesn't actually appear in any of the games, but it's still creepy, okay? It doesn't have to appear in a game. This is fan animatronics for a reason. Doesn't appear in game, and I don't think that there's a mod for it either if you watch that video. Although that is a good idea. You should make a mod for this. There should just be a FNAF game that's all puppets. Anyway, while some people may not be able to make a game for their creations, you can make a mod, or you can like make a model for it in Source Filmmaker, and then let people use it for mods. Anyways, this particular image that I found just looks like the beginning of a Scrap Puppet jump scare, as if you were salvaging them in FNAF 6. And obviously it's not actually in the game because the puppet was captured by Lefty, but still, this just, it puts me on edge. And then it has like all like the little tentacle things coming off of it and like a creepy smile. Like I don't know, it puts me on edge, or it's edging me because of those tentacles. Is that too far? I mean, Food Wars said it, so like, can I make the joke? Halfway through into number 5, Scrap Funtime Freddy. Funtime Freddy is a particularly interesting animatronic, looking like he just came back from filming a video with James Charles. Does he even make videos anymore? I don't know, nor do I really care. Funtime Freddy is creepy simply because he's like the most put together version of Freddy there is, ignoring Toy Freddy. Especially with the recent revelation, thanks to the Faz Facts from FNAF AR, that revealed that the Funtime animatronics, despite being introduced in the 5th game, were among some of the first animatronics that Afton built, which I think was meant to serve as a way to show that he always had murderous intentions, but still. Take the creep factor you get from Funtime Freddy, then add on to it the scrap adjective, and boom, you got yourself some good nightmare fuel. But like, not like this would be in your nightmares, like rather I think it would just provoke some nightmares, but it is certainly not for the faint of heart. And at 4, Nightmare Scrap Baby. Really? You just had to take probably the freakiest bitch of the bunch and turn her into a Nightmare Scrap version. What the living hell, man. Okay, I'll admit that this should be higher on the list, so actually, you know what, I'll move it. Okay, there we go, it's at number 4 now. Like, it was originally at number 8, but then I switched it with Scrap Baby's endo specifically so that I could say that I already said that Scrap Baby is the scariest of the Scrap animatronics. Yes, this was a bit. And turning them into a nightmare version that wants to eat my soul is too much, okay? Amanda and I are the only ones who are supposed to do the whole soul eating thing. But Nightmare Scrap Baby looks like she wants to eat my firstborn child. Like, do you understand how absolutely terrifying this thing is? Some of them even look like Pennywise after they're old and gray and been doing too much no snow. Pennywise would be scared of Nightmare Scrap Baby. Afton would disown Elizabeth as his daughter for this. This is literally the stuff of nightmares, which I guess was the point. So, good job, guys. You got me to freak. Congratulations. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Reaper Spring Bonnie. Reaper Spring Bonnie is absolutely terrifying, okay? This Reaper variant appears in Final Nights 3 and 4 and is an absolute monstrosity, but is definitely more terrifying in Final Nights 4. He is 100% the scariest animatronic in these games. In essence, Reaper Spring Bonnie is a nightmare spring trap. He has sharp teeth and a very damaged and withered body. His suit is dark yellow in color, he sports a big purple bow tie on his upper chest, and like other Reaper animatronics, Reaper Spring Bonnie has one pair of hollow, dark, cold eyes. In Final Nights 4, however, his appearance is more disfigured and gruesome, with sharper claws, sharper teeth, a different jaw, growths on his shoulder pads resembling fungi, and a gooier appearance overall, I should say. He is also missing half of his right ear, similar to Springtrap from FNAF 3, and his suit is more greenish in color, also like Springtrap. But oh my god, okay, this thing is way more terrifying than Springtrap. This dude is 100% like just nightmare fuel. Can ultimately end at number 2, Reaper Puppet. If you didn't know, the Reaper Puppet was the first fan animatronic ever featured on this channel in the top 10 scary FNAF animatronics list around like a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. The first FNAF video by me on this channel, by the way, was from January 29th, 2020. Can you believe that? It's actually been over 2 years. And the video I'm talking about came out about a month later, on February 24th, 2020. So yeah, it's been over 2 years. So I have a long history with this character. The Reaper Puppet, along with Shadow Bonnie and the brother from Final Nights 1, are the only animatronics in the entire Final Nights series to start off a night outside. Reaper Puppet also appears to be a counterpart to the original series Puppet, though it is only the Reaper Puppet's head that is similar to the core series. The rest of its body is a dark shade of black. It has long stretching arms and sharp fingers at the hands, like the Grim Reaper, and Reaper Puppet has multiple tentacle-like legs, which kinda gives me PTSD because of the blob. Reaper Puppet can easily be mistaken for a tree, as its legs look like roots and its shoulders look like branches, but the thing is so creepy that I included it on a list that shouldn't have had fan animatronics on it, okay? But I was incredibly creeped out and I felt compelled to make it a thing, mostly because I wanted to use it for the thumbnail, okay? Like how kids in Fazbear Frights are drawn to the restaurants, I'm drawn to the Reaper Puppet. And finally, in at number 1, Actual Nightmares. From a series of Reddit posts from a now deleted user called FNAF 4, but it's actually something you would see in a nightmare, these horrific half-wits are exactly what I would genuinely expect to see in a nightmare. Like, why would you do that to poor mommy Chica? This was the thumbnail image I used for the iconic Scary FNAF Creepypastas video on Top 10 Gaming Elite, the 8th video released on that channel at this point, and I think it's still the most popular video on that channel. But it really makes me wonder why I didn't use that in a video at any point before this. Like, this is the first time I'm actually talking about these characters, which is kind of absolutely crazy. And I used Freddy for the scariest fan animatronics you will ever see video, which only made me want to talk about it more. Actually, I'm pretty sure I've used all 3 in thumbnails before. I used Bonnie for like a Bonnie Theories video as well, like damn. For some reason, the author didn't want to or didn't end up making a Nightmare Fredbear or Foxy in these styles, so I guess that this was probably enough for them. And honestly, I think it was enough for the internet because I'm like, damn, okay, these things are hella creepy. Even worse than the Reaper or Havoc Puppet. That's right, I said it. Havoc Puppet wasn't even on this list, but still. In at 10, Reaper Mangle. Reaper Mangle is absolutely terrifying. Some may just be scary because of circumstance, but Reaper Mangle comes from Final Nights 3 and 4, but I want to focus on the Final Nights 4 version, okay, since that one is actually terrifying. The one from the 3rd game just kinda looks like a Lego Duplo version of Mangle. In the 4th game, however, Mangle's face appears to be melted and decaying, as if it was chewing gum, but the gum was its face, and there is basically no exterior shell on this thing, except for the face. Slightly on the left arm, but oh my god, honestly, you can only tell this is Mangle because of the name and the color scheme. Other than that, if someone looked at this only knowing Mangle by the appearance in FNAF 2, it would take them a little while before they actually realized who it was meant to be. The Reaper animatronics are terrifying, but they get far worse in Final Nights 4. And at 9, Shadow Spring Bonnie. Shadow Spring Bonnie is one of the 2 primary antagonists of Final Nights 2. He's also one of the final animatronics in the game. Shadow Spring Bonnie resembles Springtrap, as to be expected when mentioning Springlock suits. Similar to Springtrap, he lacks the suit on his right feet and has the majority of his right right ear missing. Overall, he has rips, but he's not really missing any limbs or parts overall, which is a stark contrast to the burnt animatronics from the first 4 nights of the game. His face glows white, which is noticeable when he is in the hallway, but it also gives him a more sinister appearance, and pushes the something supernatural idea that most Shadow animatronics have, like Shadow Bonnie from FNAF AR. Shadow Spring Bonnie takes the role of Burnt Freddy and Burnt Foxy on night 5, and is very fast, so the player must seal the vent quickly, or else they'll get jump scared. He may also appear in the hallway, but if he does, never use your flashlight or you will get insta-killed, and you should inspect his face when he appears there. If he's twitching, close the door. A rattling sound will let you know when he's left. The fact that you actually need to look at his face to see if you're in danger is horrifying, especially when most of what you need to do in this game relies on fast reflexes, you having to sit there and process something, especially for me, who processes something at the speed of a snail. That's gonna be rough. Halfway through into number 5, Slasher Fredbear. Slasher Fredbear by DeviantArt user PlayStation Jedi is an unholy abomination that must be stopped. I've talked about the Slasher animatronics before, particularly in the Bonnie animatronic versions list. However, Slasher Fredbear is so much worse. He may not have a shotgun axe guitar, but oh my god. Let me read the description of this animatronic in the words of PlayStation Jedi himself, so you can see what the creator thinks about him. Quote, "The largest and strongest of all the Slasher animatronics, Slasher Fredbear is an unstoppable force with enhanced strength and durability. Fredbear is capable of smashing through walls, withstanding lots of punishment, and grabbing heavy objects and throwing them across the room. While Fredbear uses his great strength to pick up and rip people in half, if he needs a quick kill, he can extend a blade mounted to his wrist and cut through people like butter. Or, if he needs a ranged attack, he can use his 2 wrist-mounted LMG guns. Fredbear can switch between these weapons on the fly, either using 2 LMGs or 2 blades or 1 on each wrist." What the hell, man? LMG standing for light machine gun. Kelly, by the way. Jesus ever-loving Christ. This will actually make me cry myself to sleep. Not to mention the spikes covering his body or the incredible amount of blood soaking it. And at 4, Golden Call. As a human when alive, Golden Call's name was Kyle. However, now he is a Springlock victim stuck inside a Golden Freddy Springlock suit. Golden Call has a typical rundown Springlock suit vibe, similar to Springtrap. However, this time it's even more gruesome. His left ear is bent, he has bugs coming out of basically every hole in his body, human eyes are hanging out of the animatronic's eye sockets, he is missing exosuit on his right foot, and the character is holding a flesh-colored, at least flesh-colored, it might even be flesh made phone in his right hand that stays stuck to his head via more flesh and blood strands connecting to the side of his head. Yeah. Dude, this is horrifying. This is a monstrosity. And looking at his age on the wiki, Kyle was only 5 years old when he got Springlock, which is absolutely nuts and just flat out horrible. It's so unfortunate. He was supposed to be the next best Fortnite player. He killed Ninja and Tfue. That's a joke for you long-term subs right there. Although, if you stuck around after those videos, I'd be surprised. Getting close to the end in number 3, Havoc Freddy. What the f is this thing? This thing has to be the most confusing form of Freddy that we have ever seen in any version of the game. St. Patty's Day Freddy, normal. Icicle Freddy, normal. What the hell is this? He looks like an even more canine version of Mangle with Foxy's arm in his mouth, holding a sign that says, "I look like a toaster with a slice of bread." And that's not a joke. I'm actually serious. He's holding an arm that is holding a sign that says that it looks like a toaster with a slice of bread. What? If the sheer confusion isn't enough to put you off, it's also missing an eye, even though it has another head attached to it that it looks like the eyes were torn out of that too. Go find those eyes, my dude! Can you tell that this series of games is driving me crazy? At this point, we've done more FNAF videos than I feel like anyone else on YouTube. There is over 450 FNAF videos in the playlist, and I've done the majority of them. I have done over a year's worth of FNAF videos. Penultimately, into number 2, Blank. The Blank animatronic from Five Nights at Candy's and Five Nights at Candy's Remastered is actually very unique in concept, no doubt being inspired by Mangle, I think though. He is a drawing attraction that is meant for children to write and draw wherever they want on his body. Over time, the animatronic was obviously withered down, and the withered version from the second game is where we'll be focusing for this number. Withered Blank is the most withered out of any of the animatronics. All of his suit parts seem to be damaged in one way or another. A large part of the left side of his head is gone, exposing his endoskeleton, his left forearm and right upper arm are missing their exoskeletons, and while his right forearm is completely gone, all suit parts below his knees are also gone, and there are 2 holes in his torso. One of the holes exposes an endoskeleton. His texture isn't even white anymore, rather more of a gray color, like the shirt you forgot to wash that just isn't the same anymore. Unless you use today's sponsor, I'm just kidding, we're not sponsored. Blank also can be seen unwithered in the first minigame, but he appears to be the same as he was in the first game, so yeah. But in night 6 of the second minigame, the player also can see Blank's original appearance, which is actually kind of cool. It's a cool concept. And finally, in at number 1, Withered Glitch Trap. You can fight me all you want about my opinions on Springtrap, but there is no way that you can fight me on the fact that Glitch Trap isn't an animatronic. Firstly, he's just game code, with no real world equivalent aside from William Afton and I guess technically now Burntrap and Vanny. Secondly, he was literally just a suit. You can tell by the fabric, the different design to the Bonnie we all know and love, kind of, and the stitching around his joints. But this version of Glitch Trap, specifically this one, known as Withered Glitch Trap by Shadow Foxy on Amino, is designed to be an animatronic, therefore it counts for this list. This thing is terrifying. Like, I've always had a soft spot for Glitch Trap. I hate this thing because like it gives me creepy bear vibes, if you know what I mean, like the old uncle. You know, it's an old meme, but it checks out. Anyway, I hate these kinds of things. And the way that Glitch Trap just like stands there and waves and then slowly gets closer to you as the player while you're slowly picking up these the tapes, you're also playing as a child in that game, indicated by your height when you load up the game. It doesn't sit right with me, hence why I avoid picking up the tapes, because I know that it's going to summon him. Now, with all of that said and done, this version is actually worse. The actual withered appearance along with the desaturation of the costume and the exposed endoskeleton is just, it's too much for me, and I can't do this anymore. I'm done! In a 10, scrap Bonnie. Ah, Bonnie, the scariest animatronic to some, even Scott Cawthon, who would have nightmares about you. But this is probably why he didn't make you a scrap animatronic, yet here we are with the fan base once again, showcasing that their only desire is to watch the world burn and laugh while we all go up in flames, but then miraculously not die somehow, only for it to be explained years later in a random book that a load of hardcore game purists claim isn't canon. However, Scrap Bonnie is definitely worthy of making this list because, like, look at it. I love rabbits, they're freaking adorable, but zombie rabbits always creeped me out for some reason, and this reminds me of a zombie rabbit. The exposed endoskeleton, the random weird claw-like thing they got going on. It's like if Scrap Baby was reassembling herself and then Elizabeth was like, no, I want to possess Bonnie! And then she remade herself as Bonnie. Honestly, I'm surprised Scott didn't pull something like that at this point. With like, this just the simple explanation of Elizabeth liked Bonnie, and then that's it, that's the only thing we get. Damn, maybe that's the scariest thing of all. In at 9, Chuck E. Cheese. No, I'm not kidding. Someone actually made Chuck E. Cheese canon in the fan FNAF world. I don't know what particular game he comes from, if any. I saw him on the FNAF RP fandom wiki page and just kind of cowered in my pants. He's just a recolored Freddy Fazbear and doesn't really have much other than a couple of images in the FNAF world, other than that, the one maybe, but like, I'm sure you know what Chuck E. Cheese looks like, okay? Apparently, Chucky got sent to Freddy's as a guest star, but also started moving around at night. Well, since CEC, the parent company for Chuck E. Cheese, did file for bankruptcy, at least in part, this might actually come true, and if it does, if there is some form of FNAF Chuck E. Cheese crossover, I'm going to cry. There have also been reports of children going missing and animatronics moving after hours in Chuck E. Cheese locations, but these stories aren't true. And to anyone saying that the closed Chuck E. Cheeses should be redesigned into Fazbear locations, yes. Okay, you should go watch our videos, but also it may not be a good idea considering how many kids got stuff. But we made a whole video series about how they could do that. In at 8, Ignited Chica. Ignited Chica comes from the joy of creation, one of the most terrifying fan games ever. Scott's lucky that he didn't make this game, because if he did, nobody would play it out of sheer fear. Like, I don't know how horror junkies do it. Why do you like being scared? It's supposed to be a bad thing. Anyway, Ignited Chica is similar to the other Ignited animatronics, just a more decayed and rundown version of the original. And while Eddie may not be trying to get with this one, and I'm not really either, there is a clear reason why, okay? The jaw is gone, leaving only the top part of the beak and a load of exposed wire, okay? Half of her left arm is gone, and her entire right arm is gone, aside from like a little bit of endoskeleton, okay? And look at the feet. Like, oh man, Chica, like, I can see your wiki feet score going down already. Okay, honestly, it's probably not going down. There are people who are into some really weird stuff. Like, I'm not kink shaming. I mean, I make jokes about banging a toy animatronic regularly, but like, it's not weird to them. It's only weird to people with a conscience. Moving on! And at 7, the BOA. The BOA is basically like another form of Mangle, but this time hailing from the Dormitabis universe. I say this is Mangle-like because of the multiple heads and exposed endoskeletons connecting them all. The 2018 updated version is far more hectic than the original as well, but it just seems kinda smaller. I don't know why, but animatronics that can kill me by biting my ankles off just put me off in a different way when compared to something like Foxy or Breadbear who could crush me with a snap. Like the little Freddies and the plush trap and then like the plush babies, no. No, 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 no. And this thing doesn't make it any better, considering how it has 5 heads. The head of Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Mangle, Balloon Boy, and Toy Chica. Mommy, why? But it also has the hook from Foxy just chilling, ready to tear your face off and like then lay eggs inside your brain. I don't know, okay? The story for Dormitabis is really messed up and I don't really quite understand it all. So I'm not sure what this thing is really going to do. And don't worry, this isn't the only Dormitabis animatronic on this list. And at 6, Reaper Balloon Boy. Reaper Balloon Boy looks terrifying in both Final Nights 3 and 4, the only games in which he makes an appearance. Luckily. But as I said with Reaper Mangle, Final Nights 4 is where the creep factor really gets dialed up to 12. His face is melting and hell, even his balloon is showing endoskeleton, which totally blows my mind. And the propellers on his hats are just going nuts. The right hand of Doom got run over by a truck and his left hand looks like me trying to use chopsticks. But like at least you can tell that it's still Balloon Boy. Despite messed up attributes, I can't help but get weirded out by this thing. Like I swear as I was writing this, I had the picture up next to me. I saw him move towards me and then back away as I moved my eyes back, okay? It was a horrifying experience and I really need to make sure that I'm doing okay because I swear he tilted his head now. Really? I get that his head is tilted to the right, but like come on. And anytime I refer to direction, I mean from their point of view, okay? Because I learned my lesson with Bonnie. Halfway through into number 5, Scrap Puppet. I don't know why, but every version of the puppet intended to be scary just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't have puppophobia, but it does. First, the Reaper puppet, which I talked about in the first scariest FNAF animatronics list years ago, and honestly, it was the inspiration behind this video. And then the Havoc puppet from another video, and now we have the Scrap Puppet. This was only a concept in fan art and doesn't actually appear in any fan game, but this wasn't the criteria, okay? This isn't top 10 scary FNAF fan animatronics that appear in games. No, it's fan animatronics. It's fine, although that is a good idea. No, it's just fan animatronics. And while some people may not be able to make a game for their creations, they can still draw them and give me nightmares for all of eternity. The particular image that I found has just like what looks like the beginning of a Scrap Puppet jump scare when you're salvaging them in FNAF 6, but obviously it isn't the actual game because the puppet was captured by Lefty. But this still sets me on edge with the tentacles coming off of it and like that creepy smile. Oh my god. And at 4, Ignited Foxy. Ignited Foxy is similar to normal Foxy, just with only a pelvis, thighs, a forearm, and a head. Relatable. Ignited Foxy comes from the joy of creation, the same as Ignited Chica, but Foxy is even worse. Normal Foxy already looks pretty torn up, considering how he's a pirate and all that, but the Ignited version is missing an ear and most of his flesh. Can I call it flesh? Should I be calling it flesh? I guess it's missing most of its shell casing. Both lower leg sections, his upper arm, his lower right arm, as well as his feet and chest are also missing, but the hook's still there. He's gotta have the hook. Arrgh. He has to keep the hook. How else is he gonna make those 1,000 degree hook videos where he like puts it through like flowering foam and then carves your eye out? His eyes glow white, and honestly, I don't know if you'll love this Foxy as much as you love the normal Foxy after seeing this, because it's terrifying. Like, holy hell. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Scrap Orville. I found this Scrap Orville through a mod that replaced Orville, I'm assuming, with the Scrap Orville version. Orville Elephant isn't a particularly scary character, and that remains the same for the rest of the mediocre melodies. However, this Scrap Orville mod, made using a model by DeviantArt user Holupaxum, based on a design of Reddit user u/fandomtrash198787, is honestly terrifying. Scrapping animatronics always makes them scarier, and with the lore implications that the original Orville gave with his deathlines and Ultimate Custom Night, I can only imagine what a Scrap Orville will add, and I've stated it time and time again, the lore is the scariest thing in the series to me. And the sheer lore implications of not only a Scrap Orville, but all these fan-made scrap animatronics is actually haunting how terrifying it is. If you've ever tried to explain anything in this series in at least somewhat of a reasonable way and not a whole Sans' phone guy kind of way, you'll understand my struggle and you'll relate to me on this. But ultimately, in at number 2, Scrap Trap Endo. Scrap Trap is already a creepy animatronic, somehow changing from a small, realistically sized head in Springtrap to a giant, weird alien head in FNAF 6. Scrap Trap is definitely one of the most interesting Afton looks. It looks like he's going to Coachella and trying on a load of outfits. However, this man needs to keep as much clothing on as possible because this version of Scrap Trap's endoskeleton, or what it would look like, is absolutely horrific. And yes, that's what I meant by clothes, not because Afton is a walking mass of exposed muscle and absolutely unsightly in the most horrendous ways. No, it's because his endoskeleton for the Scrap Trap animatronic is freaky. Like, why does his head have to be that shape? It's an animatronic, not a freaking pop figure. Scrap Trap needs a pop figure, though. I will definitely buy that. So, Funko, do it. Still, either way, Scrap Trap endoskeleton is literally one of my worst nightmares. And finally, in at number 1, Scrap Glamrox. With Security Breach on the horizon, releasing in actually a month as this video is going out, I believe, we still had to include the group of animatronics as scrap versions on this list. And honestly, it's pretty accurate considering how Chica in that promotional image and the recent trailer seems to be pretty scrapped already. They wouldn't really have to do much there to have that really work out. However, the versions that I've actually seen are scarily horrific in a way that makes me concerned if they'll be in the real game. I don't think these would be in the game, but based on that old theory that I had about how these characters are acting like zombies, this makes me feel like that theory is a little too right. These animatronics being made into scrap animatronics are honestly some of the weirdest custom scrap versions I've seen, and that makes them the scariest. I tried to stay away from anything newer, or I guess that I had covered in previous alternate fan version videos, but holy crap, these scrap rocks, as I want to call them, are absolutely haunting. This is what the Halloween update for this game should be. These are actually perfect, so thank you.